Hello everybody, I hope everybody's doing good, and welcome to part 2 of my father's 1956 Gravely. Okay, so if you didn't see part 1, which I'll leave a link to that in the comments, I'll pin it. What we did in part 1 was, I had a problem here when I bought this sulky. It had these brackets on here, and this one bracket was all the way out here, and I had a whole bunch of shims in there, and no matter what combination I did with the shims, it still didn't line up right. So what I did was I just quick cut this bracket off. If you check out part 1, you'll see what was going on. Yeah, I cut this bracket off, moved it in some, then I had to shim it in between here. And I had like an oversized nut in there. I didn't like that. So this morning what I did was I took that nut out and I put washers in instead. I asked a few of you about what you would think about JB welding this. And it was like an absolutely not scenario there. So I did call a welder. And it's the same old story. He said, "Oh, call me next week and he'll come over and take a look at it and see what he could do here. Just weld this in here, I guess, would be cool." So what I did was I tightened this bolt. This nut and bolt here, I think was from years ago from a tie rod end on the car. So it's a pretty strong bolt. And this is like a lock nut on here. And I went ahead and just tightened it up with the air gun even. And I just made sure the nut was real tight. After part 1, I drove this thing around some more and it didn't even loosen up. But I did get rid of that nut spacer and put washers in there. And let's see what happens as far as the welder goes. Okay, so in 1956... my father bought this brand new, as I said, and it came with the sulky, and it came with a real mower in the front, which I told you since then, the sulky and the real mower part got trashed. I did keep the tractor inside. He had a receipt. It was a small hand written receipt. I remember him showing me, and he paid $480. And it came with the tractor, the sulky, and the real mower. It was $480, which I looked it up, and it's equivalent to like $5,200. So even back then, the Graveleys went for a lot of money, but well worth it. Since he had it, what this had originally, the spark plug wire here had like a clip on it, and it had no boot. And used to connect to the top of the spark plug here. And my brother remembers him pressing down on the hood and shutting the machine off. So I don't know if he had a lot of problems with this, but he fabricated this hood. He did a real nice job on this. Putting this, he did it out of sheet metal. So I guess, to avoid having that problem anymore. And I was the one that asked him to put the Bulldog on. Now, unfortunately, this is not the original Bulldog. I bought this off the internet. It's like a reproduction one. It's not a regular Mac one. But I figured, I wanted to put the Bulldog back on. I think that was a few years back that I did that. So I got the Bulldog to go back on. Just to tell you, like in 1956, this is a 2-gallon gas tank. It's probably 50 cents to fill this up, right? Today, it's $10 just to fill this gas tank up. It's like ridiculous. Yeah, so that's what he did to it in the meantime. And what it was we had like an acre of property. The property I grew up on. That's why he bought the Gravely. And in 1967, his factory he worked for was moving pretty far away to Perth Amboy, and we were in West Orange, and it was a long ride for him. So what he did was in 1967, he started a lawn and garden maintenance service, and I don't know how he got it, but he ended up getting in the state, which is in a gated community in West Orange called Llewellyn Park. And Thomas A. Edison's estate is in there too. As a matter of fact, they used to take care of his property with a Gravely, with a steering sulky, and it had the real mower attachment, but it had the gang mower ones. It had the 3 in the front, which was pretty cool, I thought. I don't know who had the estate then when we started doing it, but yeah, that was back in 1967. So he had the one property. He was still working at the factory, and he used to take care of that on Saturday. And he used to do the trimming and taking care of the gardens and everything while I drove the Gravely around. So in 1970, he got a couple of more estates in Llewellyn Park. And what he did was he decided the one real mower in the front just wasn't doing it. So we bought gang mowers that you tag along, tag along gang mowers. So he bought the gang mowers, and with that he bought the dual wheel setup for it. Now when he bought this tractor, the original ag tires that were on it, I still have them here, and they're worn out and blown out. They don't hold air or anything like that. But in 1970, these ag tires came with the kit he bought for the dual wheels. It came with the spacers and the tires. So I do have a couple of the tires from 1970 here. What I want to do is I want to try to get this tractor back to the way it was, So I have the spacers over here. It's going to need a couple of ag tires, but I borrowed these 2 tires off the 73 C8 over there. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on. Now in the meantime, about a month ago, the mostly reverse portion of the clutch was shot. And no matter what I did adjusting this lever here and this and that, it was still slipping really bad in reverse. So about a month ago, I changed the reverse forward clutch. I put a new one on it. I bought it from the Gravely dealer, which has been out of business now for about 18-20 years. And I had the clutches. I kept them inside in the safe place. I always, kept them in the safe place. So I figured while I was at it, I bought 2 clutches. I also bought the high-low clutch also. So I had this whole tractor apart to put the clutches in, but I figured you guys see me do that before, How many times can you watch clutches being changed? And for the high-low, I had to take the engine off. This does not have the original engine on it. This has a 6.6 engine that I bought a Gravely for $50. What happened was I was buying some lawn equipment, and I went to the guy's house. I ended up buying the guy's lawn equipment. As I was walking back to my truck, I could see in the barn he had a Gravely sitting there. And I asked him what he was doing with the tractor. He says, it was rebuilt and we don't use it anymore. Give me $50 for it. So I bought the whole tractor. I took the engine off that and I put it on this. This had one problem. To get the handlebars off, I always take this top shield off. This bolt wasn't tight all the way. You could wiggle the shield. And I kept spraying it. Long story short, I snapped the bolt off. So I left the head on it as a guide, and I drilled it out pretty straight, not too bad. I've done worse. And I retapped it and put a new bolt in here. And what else did I do? And I just cleaned up the transmission, painted it. It's got fresh oil in it. I changed the oil. So today what I want to do is I'll just do one side with you. We'll put the dual wheels back on. And another thing is, if you saw in part 1 when I was testing it, I stalled it. Like my plow tractor has no governor, and I don't want a governor on my plow tractor. But I noticed running the PTO, the attachments that you have to use the PTO for, the governor seems to work pretty good, because in a previous video on the 73 C8 over there, we were testing it. I think we were testing a mower deck out after I had to put one together for it. And I noticed with the governor, it's a lot better. It avoids stalling and everything. So I have a governor for this, and I think I'm just going to add the governor to this today also. So we're going to put the dual wheels back on, and then we'll get started. I'll get set up. I'll show you what you need to do to put the governor on. I really don't have that much experience with governors on these things, you know, but the governor on the other one, like, I've had the tractor apart, and that seems to work pretty good. So I have a governor here, and we'll go ahead. I'll get set up. I'll put the camera in the camera stand, and we'll just install one side of the dual wheels here. Now, this tractor has solid hubs on it, so it's a little easier to put the spacers on this. Ones that don't have the solid hubs on them are a little tricky to do. But with this, since it's a solid hub, all 6 bolts bolt the rim on. So the 3 bolts you have to take off to put the spacers on. The other bolts just hold the wheel on. So, all right, let's get to it. If I could think of anything else I forgot to talk about with this, I'll let you know. Okay, so right to the right of the tire valve here, you're going to remove that bolt and then every other bolt, because where the valve is, you'll see like there's a notch. There's a notch in here to clear the valve. And you can see it's the only spot on the adapter where there's a notch. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's what you have to do. So what you're going to do is see if I can get one of these bolts. It's hard to see. It's a black rim. I think I got that one started. You just have to juggle this around. These are weights as well as spacers for the dual wheels, and they're a little heavy. They're a little awkward to work with, especially if you don't have solid hubs. I got that started pretty good, I guess. Just gonna get them to go on here. I'm gonna use the air gun, which I really shouldn't, because there's a chance you can snap these. So I'm just gonna give it a little tightening up here. You don't want to go too crazy. So that's pretty good. Now go over them by hand. It's on there good. I don't think I have to go over them. Alright, so then we're going to get the outer wheel, and we're going to put that one on. One of the 2 stubby tires I got over there, one of them's a little worn. So I'll put the better one on the right side, on the drive wheel. So let me go ahead and go get that. We'll go ahead and put that on. Okay, so the bolts that you took out of the hub to put the spacers on, you're going to take those bolts, and then you can bolt on the outer wheels. The outer wheel doesn't matter which position you put that in. as long as you get the holes line up. Okay, I got that one started. We'll just wheel this around. I hope you can see some of this going on here. I think in 1970, after he put the dual wheels on it, I asked him to put the Bulldog on. I thought the tractor looked really cool with the dual wheels. Let's see, I was 13 when he passed away. He died of cancer. But I still had the tractor and I was plowing with it. He made a homemade plow for it, which I don't have, but the plow worked pretty good. So he used to plow with this also. And in 1969, after he started his lawn service business, he bought the 69 Ford truck, the Ford pickup, 4-wheel drive, so he was plowing with that. And I used to just mess around a little bit, do the edges and stuff with the tractor here. So this tractor's gone like a lot of miles, especially doing those estates. They were huge. I wish I had pictures, at least, of the estates. I remember one customer didn't like me running the Gravely. She thought it was dangerous. So he used to have to do that one whole lawn while I was in school or whatever. And then I could just do the rest. Nobody else complained. But you always get one person that complains. When I became 12 or 13, she just let it go. That she didn't say anything anymore. Once again, I don't like using the air gun on it, but because I'm just doing it for recording purposes here. It's dangerous, especially on something that old, this old. Alright, so that's it for that. Now I get set up and we'll install the governor on it. Okay, so right now I have everything ready. I'm pretty sure I have everything ready to install the governor. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. And I hope I got the camera on there pretty good so you could see. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, I believe this was a 1/2 inch. No, it's 9/16. Tools are very hot out in the sun here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the support bracket nut off here. And washer. And I think these are 9/16 on the bottom. And we're just going to loosen the nut and bolt holding this bracket on and swing this out of the way. 9/16. Okay, we should be able to swing this out of the way here. No, no. The pulley's in the way. The fan belt pulley's in the way. Oh no, we got it. Alright. Okay, so down below here, we have an engine mount bolt. We gotta take that out. And that's going to be a 1/2 inch socket for that. You have to take this bolt completely out. Another thing too about this sulky, I wish I painted it cherry red. I wish I painted it a darker red. Because sooner or later this whole tractor is going to need a makeover. I think I painted it about 25 years ago. Was the last time I painted it. And I think I used Regal red, if I'm not mistaken, paint. Because the cherry red's too light. I want it to be darker. On the darker side, like it was when it was original, you know. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Alright, so we're going to take the governor now. And I'm having a hard... I should have positioned the camera different. I think I might do that in a little bit. Okay, you just want to place your governor on that stud there. And put the engine bolt back in. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle here. Am I putting this thing on wrong? No. Not that I know of. Yeah, it was. It was kind of not in the stud right. Okay. Okay, so we got that on. So we're just going to tighten this lower bolt up a little bit here, because we're going to have to adjust this against the fan belt. Incidentally, the fan belt that is on here, which I'm sure I put on, it's supposed to be a 1/2 inch belt, 31 inches long. This is a 3/8 belt that's on here. I know it's the wrong belt, but the belt is still in really good shape. And we're not going to go crazy tightening this governor against the belt, because like I always say, these things are old and you don't want to put stress on it. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this lower bolt here. Yeah, I think I might... Oh no, I'm good. I'm clear. Just want to make sure I'm clear of this. That I could get this rod. This rod goes here. And then there's another rod that goes on the inner side here with a spring that hooks here. And I'll show you that when I reposition the camera. I guess the governors will all add on to the old Graveleys. Okay. So, what we want to do next here is we're going to swing this bracket back up. And we're going to put the washer and the nut back on. Here. Yeah, it wasn't really crazy about governors until when I ran the C10, C8, the C10, C8. When I ran that, I was pretty impressed how the governor was working for in the high grass. I didn't have to play around with the throttle. So I suppose it would be really nice to have the governor when you're using the snow blower, you know, the snow cannon. I'm gonna have to move the camera to tighten this thing up right, because I don't want to over tighten this or anything. Is this thing moving or what? I think we just leave it right there. That should be good. All the belt on these things do is run the cooling fan and the governor if you have one. That's all they do. I don't know. I'm gonna have to move everything aside here and make sure I got the belt tight enough. Anyway, you saw what I did. It's very easy to do. And then we're gonna go around the other side and I'll show you what else we have to do for this here. I know this governor works. This governor is from the 54 that we took apart. It's in complete pieces. We'll get back to that someday. My main concern is doing that C8. I want to take the top end of the engine apart and see what we got going on with that and fix that up. Because that's our backup snowplow tractor. That has to be right. So, alright, so enough chit chat. And I'll be back to you. Oh, okay, so we're back again. Alright, so what I'm going to have to do here is I tightened up all the bolts. I tightened that bracket, the bottom nut and bolt, the adjustment nuts and bolts, they're tight. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to change this belt crank. You know, this is the throttle here. And since it didn't have the governor, it had the rod. We're going to have to change this out. I'll show you why. I loosened everything up for this. It's just a matter of getting it off. The throttle we could pull off. I'm going to use the other throttle because the other throttle has a Z-bend in it, and I'll show you why we need to use that. Okay, so we got that off. Okay, so we're going to be using this here. Now you gotta make sure this is down on idle all the way. And then we'll stick this on here. And I think it has to be just tilted to the back a little bit here. I don't know, we might have to adjust it later. And I'll just tighten up this 5/16 nut and bolt here. I'll tighten that up. I'm not sure exactly what position this thing has to be. That might be good. I just tilted it back just a little bit. So we'll go ahead and tighten that up. Now I gotta find the 5/16 socket. There it is. I can't tell you how hot these tools are. This is ridiculous. Remember in the winter I was complaining how cold the tools were. Now we can complain it's too hot. That's tight. Ain't going nowhere. Okay, so this runs off the governor here. So what we're going to be using is a clip to clip this on here. I think it's kind of bent up, upwards. Get this thing to go on. Let me get that clip to, anyway, this goes into the eye here, and then you have a clip that clips it on here. So let me get that. I'll be right back in a second. I'm due to knock the camera over, I'm sure. Let me make sure you're recording. I still can't see well. Maybe see this eye doctor Wednesday. If this guy doesn't do what he's supposed to do, I'll go back to my previous doctor because I'm not happy with this guy. Why is it so hard to hook on? I wonder. Yeah, that's good. Now I gotta remember how this clip goes. I think you put the clip on, then you put the linkage through, and then you clip this thing on. Okay, that's on. Clip is on. And you just take the clip and you just fold it down and it clips onto the linkage here. I don't know if this thing is a little too hard to move. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't know. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this one carburetor mounting bolt out here. No, first I'm going to get the throttle ran down here. Okay, so it was running too fast. So what I did was I loosened the bell crank. I had it all the way down on idle, you know, with the throttle here. And what I did was I pushed the inner part down all the way to idle, and then I tightened up the bell crank. So I started it up at idle. It throttles up and everything. It seems I drove it back and forth a little bit, and it seemed like the governor was working. But I don't know if I have this adjusted right or not. I mean, it throttles up a lot more than I think it's supposed to with the governor on here. But I mean, I know enough not to blow the thing up, but my main concern is I'd like to see if the governor does work. So what I'm going to do now is I get set up in the field. We'll take it for a spin and see how it is. Friends, I'm just having a little trouble with this phone here. I think it started overheating. I'm in the shed right now. We're going to go out to the tractor right now. It's out in the field. I don't want to put it on pause or anything right now. I'm hoping we get this video finished up here. We'll see how this governor works. Sorry about all this, but I can't help it. Let's see how it does. The grass is not as high as it was in part one. It is pretty high though already. Let's see what happens. it definitely feels like the governor is working. I don't know if I have it set right. It looks cool with the dual wheels on it. I like that. If anybody knows or seen me do anything wrong or how to adjust it, I adjusted it the best I can. Like I said, when I first started it up, it was racing. I had it on choke, and when I was taking it off the choke, it was running too fast, so I shut it off. And I did that thing with the belt crank, and I set the inner part down to idle, and then I tightened it up, and it seems to be okay. I just tried it for real quick in high gear too. It feels like it was picking up power when I was cutting the grass. It wasn't stalling, but then again, the grass isn't that high. I think I'll let the grass grow in the field here for a while, pretty high, and then we'll try it then. And I hope you enjoyed this little tribute to my father's Gravely here. He was actually the Gravely man. They used to call him the Gravely man. I just took the name, so he was the Gravely man. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all on the next one, and stay safe. Thanks for watching.